This podcast is sponsored by the following sponsors. The Real Real. Buy and sell luxury clothing, bags, and more on The Real Real. Get $25 off your first purchase when you go to therealreal.com/happy. Shopify, the e-commerce platform I trust for Glossy. Sign up for your $1 a month trial period at shopify.com/happy. Brevo, meet the all-in-one marketing and CRM platform for your business. Get started free or save 50% for 3 months with code HAPPY at brevo.com/happy. Airbnb, start making money by listing your home on Airbnb with the support of an experienced co-host. Find a co-host at airbnb.com/host.
You got to decide, are you going to wait till you have enough bad times, or are you going to figure out right now what to do? And I think it's critical for everyone who's listening to not buy into the narrative that I can't do this. Freezing and giving up is the way to kill your business, kill your relationship, and kill the quality of your life. Only one thing makes people happy: progress.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Earn Your Happy podcast. I have been doing throwbacks, you guys, and I've got a really good one for you today. It will not disappoint. Let me just tell you, it was one of my favorite podcasts that I got to do. I have a lot of favorites, but you know what? There's a reason. You're about to see. But before we do that, I want to tell you, if you want to start feeling like you've got that glowy, dewy, plump skin for summer, I'm all about that skincare now, you guys. I'm in my 40s, okay? So it is vital that I start really working with the root cause, which is from your gut. And can I just say that the skincare industry is going to massively be shifting in the next few years, because this message is now not only getting out to the world about skin from your gut, but it's getting so much research and dollars behind it that they're starting to show that a lot of topical skincare doesn't do a whole lot. I'll be talking a lot more about this, and that the research is that you have to start in the gut for your skin, and we are way ahead of this trend. So we're gonna be staying on top of this, because if you wanna make real transformation in your skin, it has to start from your gut. So you can go to getglossy.com and use code HAPPY for 25% off. And now, today's guest, you guys, I am a fire walker because of him. I have walked on fire, legit flames and coals, okay? Because of Tony Robbins. And I know a lot of you have done his events. Unleash the Power Within is where I walked on fire twice. I did that event twice. Loved it. Loved every second of it. Got a complete transformation from it, like beyond anything that I can tell you, to the point where I kept my books that you get when you're there, that you write in, like you write throughout I think it's like 3 or 4 days that you're there. And I remember the first book that I wrote in while I was sitting at this event said, "What's your limiting belief?" And my limiting belief was that I'm not smart enough, and I'll never be or do anything, or I'll never speak on stage because I didn't graduate high school and I have terrible anxiety and panic attacks. This is in my Tony Robbins book, okay? And then after that event, I held one of my very first events, the Bliss Project, and I wrote a book and I launched courses and I made millions and millions and millions of dollars. And I feel douchey even saying that, but it is the truth, you guys. Like, this man has changed my life along with a bunch of other things, but he was a pivotal step in my personal development. And so Tony Robbins is a world-renowned entrepreneur, author, and motivational speaker. He's a coach to professional athletes, celebrities, and even US presidents. Crazy. He's a living legend in the personal development space, on a mission to help you master every area of your life. And I love sharing these throwbacks because these are moments that like really changed my life as well. And being able to interview Tony, just like a mogul, a legend who changed mine, was like absolutely incredible. And the fact that I get to share him with you, and especially if you don't know who he is, like, oh my gosh, you're in for a treat. So I've been able to just have super incredible conversations over the past few years. And this one really stood out for me, obviously, because I'm still nervous from it. I don't know. But if you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or like life and business is throwing you curveballs, this conversation is for you. He drops absolute gold about turning challenges into opportunities, why progress is the key to happiness, and how to build unstoppable momentum, even when the world seems crazy. And I know so many people feel that way right now. Tony is all about massive action. And let me tell you, I just recorded a quickie podcast like right before this, all about distraction And you know what cures anxiety and distraction is massive freaking action. Okay. Action cures anxiety. So let's get into it. Let's kick it off with Tony Robbins. He will kick our ass into action. Let's go.
Well, Tony, thank you so much for being on the show. It's a massive honor.
Oh, thanks. It's an honor to be on your show. I love seeing a couple that works together and plays together. As I told you off camera, I tell you it again on camera. It's beautiful.
Oh, it's a privilege to be able to do that. I want to dive right into a question that I know applies to everybody. This last couple of years has been absolutely crazy, uncertain and volatile, to say the least. At the same time, we have seen some people that have experienced unprecedented struggle. And then on the other side, we've seen some people experience unprecedented growth. So what do you think we're going to see in 2022? Is this going to be a year where we can still prosper and swing for the fences? Or is this a year where we should be maybe mitigating risk and kind of playing it safe?
Well, it depends on your personality and what you want from your life. If you want an expansive life, freezing is how you die. Freezing is how you die in business. Freeze is what screws up a relationship. There's one imperative in life: grow or die. And we all know the idea that it's the strongest that survive, but that's not actually what was taught. It's the most adaptable that survive. And more importantly, when you go beyond survival, you begin to thrive. This is a year in which you're going to see real changes occur, but whether you experience a benefit or not has nothing to do with the external world. That's the mistake most people are making. We can't always control, and we can't usually control the outside world. We can influence it. But we can control our own mind, our own emotions, and our own actions, and that's where all the power is. So you see companies that have exploded. In my own companies, I'm not blowing our own horn, but I have 105 companies. We do over $7 billion in business. I got AI companies, I've got education companies, I've got travel companies where everything was shut down. Some people say, well, there's nothing I can do. There's always something you do. You may not want to do it, but there's something you can do. So it comes down to your deciding you're not going to quit. You're not going to give up. You're not going to blame winter. You're not going to blame the government. And by the way, those are fair things to blame. They shut down a lot of our companies. They did things that didn't actually help. But you still have to deal with your own life. Ultimately, you're responsible to take things to the next level. So if you look at the seasons of the world, financial seasons, there's 4 seasons. There's winter time when it's really tough. This is what we're going through right now. There's springtime when it's easy, which always follows winter. Right? No winters forever, but when winter's going, you got to be prepared for spring so you can take advantage of it. You got to do well in winter so when spring comes, you do even better. There's summer where you got to fight for what you want, and then there's fall when it comes easy again, and then there's winter again. These are the seasons. 68% of the largest companies in the world, the Fortune 1000, started in winter, a recession or depression. Disney in a depression, Exxon in a depression, FedEx in a recession, Pizza Hut in a recession. I can go on and on, Apple in a recession. Because if you do well in winter, then you can own every other season. So whether you're a business person or a person at home, now is the time for you to figure this out. And you have huge advantages. I mean, look at what's happened the last few years because of technology. You look around and see Ford, 117 years old, $36 billion, and they got a lot of overhead. And you got Uber that's 11 years old and it's worth $80 billion. So, and they came up with a little piece of software. So it's our job to not buy into the narrative that says, oh, it's terrible, it's cold out there, it's freezing, let me hang on. Our ancestors would be laughing at this generation. And it's not the generation's fault. We've been so trained by technology that everything comes instantly and easily. And if we don't, we're pissed at our phone, it's going to a satellite and back, right? And we forget that what's happened is we've gotten weak. And there's a history. If you study history, it looks like this. Good times make weak people. Weak people make bad times. Bad times make strong people, and strong people make great times. That's the history of the world in cycles. And so you got to decide, are you going to wait till you have enough bad times, or are you going to figure out right now what to do? And I think it's critical for everyone who's listening to not buy into the narrative that I can't do this. That's total BS. You can find a way. Now, it won't happen though, sitting on your couch, thinking like this, like, what am I going to do? And oh my God, there's so much going on, because the psychological, mental, and physical state you're in will take away all your intelligence. It'll take away all your capacity. With a low energy brain, when you allow yourself to stay in low energy, and to be fair to everybody, most people have been cooped up, they've been isolated for almost 2 years. And so they gain weight, they haven't taken care of themselves, and so their energy is low. And then I'm going to deal with these huge problems that are bigger than me, and I've gotten used to them. And there's one more factor, and I'll shut the heck up. And that is, there's the process of learned helplessness. Learned helplessness is when you start thinking the problem is permanent. No problem is permanent. There is no pandemic that is permanent. There is no war that is permanent. Nothing. Everything changes. That's the law of life. Everything changes. Everything ends. And something new begins. But if you start to believe that, you're paralyzed. And then the second belief that makes people be in learned helplessness is it's pervasive, because I can't run my business, my whole life's over, or because my relationship's not going well, my whole life's over. It's not true. And then the third belief people get is that it's personal. There's something wrong with me. I'm just not strong enough, good enough. And so my job with people is to bring them back to the truth. You are stronger than anything that's ever happened to you in your life. You're more than anything that ever could happen to you. But you have to rebuild that physical energy, that mental, emotional state, so that your brain starts functioning again and you can go after and create solutions. But the short answer is hell no. Freezing and giving up is the way to kill your business, kill your relationship, and kill the quality of your life. Only one thing makes people happy: progress. Progress equals happiness. If you're growing, if you're expanding, even if you're not there yet, you haven't lost enough weight, but you know you're doing the right things, or you're doing the right thing in your relationship, or the right thing for your finances, you're going to start to get momentum. But without progress, we don't feel alive. And it doesn't matter what you've accomplished or achieved. We've all seen people made billions of dollars, won every Academy Award, everything you can imagine. They become my clients, but there are many of them that'll take their own life because they don't feel alive. You got to grow. And you got to give. When you grow, you have something to give. And this season, 2022, is the time to take control and make life on your terms.
Damn, that was inspiring.
So good. So what would you say is your number one secret for always feeling prepared, especially if you have not been doing much or you don't feel as sharp, and then also building that confidence muscle, especially if you have not been doing as much the last couple of years?
Well, my secret is I try to focus on the things that matter most. I had a great teacher named Jim Rohn. He used to say that most people major in minor things. They know more about some actor or actress's personal life than they do about their own body or their mind or their psychology or their physiology. I mean, there's only about a half dozen things that really control your life. Your body, your physical energy, vitality, strength, that plays a gigantic role. Your emotions, are they constant frustration? Are they fear? Are they worry? Are they drive? Are they hunger? Are they gratitude? Completely different life, right? And understanding how to shift those emotions, not fakely shift, but really shift your own biochemistry. It's the category of your relationships, because that's where the quality of our life is experienced. I don't just mean your friends. I mean your intimate relationships, your family, everything. You look at your work or your mission, hopefully, and it's a big difference whether it feels like work or a mission for you. There's the spiritual side of life. So I try to focus in those areas. So right now, one of the books I'm carrying around, I got it here right now, is my buddy Ray Dalio's book on the changing world order. Like, how are you going to deal with things unless you anticipate? A good thought for your listeners or viewers is leaders anticipate, losers react. If you're going to be successful, anticipation is one of the greatest powers. If you play a video game against a child, who always wins? The child, because they're young, because they got faster reflexes? No, because they played this game so many times. They know the first bad guy's here and the second bad guy's there and the third bad guy's here. And so they anticipate. Whereas you react and you're done in 3 seconds and you get the next turn 30 minutes later when they're done with the next one due. So you've got to anticipate and you've got to educate yourself on those things that really matter most. And that's really what I think people's focus has to be. But if you don't do that, you're going to find yourself reacting to everything. And reaction is why most people don't have what they want in their life.
I love that. I want to switch directions real quick here. One of the things that you mentioned in your last answer, was the quality of the people and the quality of relationships that you have. I'll kick my coverage here with this one. And I know that you have an incredible partner in Sage. And that's something that really inspires us, the way that as entrepreneurial couples, you guys work together and have built incredible companies and brands together and support each other. So what would you say is your 1 or 2 secrets to being an entrepreneurial couple together and really thriving?
That's a great question, because, there are a lot of people, because of COVID, they've been forced to be in the same environment continuously. And for some people, that's been really wonderful. For a lot of people, it's been not so wonderful because their relationships used to be dealt with by going somewhere else and only being around each other for a short time. I love being around my wife 24 hours a day and vice versa. But I think we've talked about this many times. A huge part of that is you need to have something in life that you're working to serve that's more than yourself. If it's only about you, it's relatively easy to meet your needs and then get really whiny and bitchy about things. But when you're trying to serve something greater than yourself, whether it be your family or your partner or your business mission or your nonprofit mission or your community or whatever really matters most to you, there's a different level of energy that comes when you're trying to serve. It's like, I really believe that life supports whatever supports more life. Meaning if I, as a human individual, find a way to prosper, well, I'm part of life. So God or the universe is going to give me insights. But I can remember when suddenly I was getting married, and two women been married twice before, had kids from both their previous husbands. So I was 24 and had a 17-year-old son instantly, an 11-year-old, a 5-year-old, and then a child on the way. Wow, I thought I had a lot of insight before, but in order to serve all of those kids and my mission, I had to grow. And I got different insights. If you're trying to serve a community or humanity, I don't mean what you tell people. I don't mean, profiling yourself, or I'm forgetting the word that people use all the time, projecting. You know what's in your heart. That mission, that shared mission. So my wife and I are really about serving. We're really about helping people, and we share that. Shared values is the next piece. It's so important. I always tell people the most important key in relationship is selection. And I don't mean selecting who, I mean who you select to bring to your relationship. Because in the beginning, you brought this great person that they fell in love with. Well, where the hell's that guy now or that woman now, right? So, but when you have shared values, it's a lot easier. It doesn't mean every value has to be shared. Another one is, if you're going to be in business, is not making your spouse responsible for shit you're not good at, which is the tendency that people have, and then being pissed when they don't do it. It's like, okay, let's figure out what you're good at, what I'm great at, and then we got to hire good people, put the right people in the right positions. Even when we had no money, very little money, we can do a trade. We can make something happen. Let's not try and force my spouse to be something they're not because I'm not good at it, so they should do that so I can do something I'm good at. That's a huge mistake, I think, in couples and business. And I think the last thing is just maybe understanding that there is no work-life balance. Whoever came up with that bullshit idea was an idiot. If you and I get on a seesaw or a teeter-totter, and we said, okay, the goal of this game is to balance. And let's say you and I now are crossing each other on balance. How long are we going to sit there before somebody's going to jerk this thing around just to feel alive, right? What we need is work-life integration. I remember I was talking to Mary Callahan Erdos, who's from JP Morgan. She manages, I don't know what it is now, $2 trillion with a T. One of the brightest people I know, just a great, great leader. And I asked her about this work-life balance thing, and she said the same thing. She said, Tony, it's work-life integration. She said, I'm in this office, my father used to be a financial advisor, and I used to sit behind his desk and come to him as work, and I got in the environment as part of how I got here. And she goes, I take everybody at JP Morgan and say, yes, go to lunch, yes, pick up your children after work, but here's how you do it. You're able to work and do these different things simultaneously. So I think those are some of the important keys. The most important, of course, is loving the person that you're with instead of being busy wondering about whether you're getting what you want or not. If a relationship's a place to go to give something, it's not a place to go get something. And that's how most people treat it. And that's why most people are disappointed.
Really quick follow-up to that. Your schedule is obviously crazy. Do you have any tricks to keeping each other a priority or to making sure you spend enough time together?
Well, we do date nights, but beyond the date night element, it's like we've learned over the years. Up until COVID, I would go to 115 cities on average in a year. Most of my seminars are multi-day. I go to somewhere between 14 and 16 countries, places like Australia 3 times in a year. So about every 2 or 3 days, there's a train, a helicopter, a plane, or on stage somewhere. But what we found is it's capturing the moment, it's presence, right? And radiance for each other. Like we can have 1 million people around us and I can just stop and boom, catch her eye and come over and give her a hug or vice versa. And the world just disappears while we're together. And I think that's more important. I know couples that are around each other 20 hours a day, they got plenty of time for each other, but they don't make that time matter. So I really think it's as trite as it sounds, it's the depth and quality of the relationship you have in those moments and experiences. And it's also stacking the deck, meaning like not only taking those moments and making them real, but then when you do have that time, really being with each other, not being somewhere else in your head when you're trying to be with each other at that time. Now, everybody has those moments, of course, but it's developing those habits.
Love it. Love it.
So good. We learned many of those the hard way, but we got there. We've definitely gotten there. So that's really great. Okay, Tony, one of the things that we admire about you is how much you give away incredible tactical information that we have absolutely used in our life and in our business. We would love to talk about the new challenge that you are going to do that again with, where you're about to give away all of this incredible free information again.
Well, let me tell you the why and how it started. When COVID hit first in 2020, and then, they shut down the whole world until I figured things out. It took me about 6 months to figure out how to still serve people. I'm just going to do a free seminar, give people the best I can to lift them and give them both skill, but also get them out of their head. Because when you're by yourself, you lose perspective, when you're isolated like that.
Yes.
And so I was like, okay, I'll do that for 2 or 3 hours. And I was like, nothing do I do in 2 to 3 hours. It's all immersion. It's like if you learn a language a little bit at a time and you ask somebody 5 years ago to speak French or Italian, they can't even speak a word practically. And they took it in college and high school. But if I said to you, okay, I'm dropping you in Rome and I'm picking you up in 8 weeks and there's no teacher, I guarantee when I pick you up in 8 weeks in that immersion, you're going to be speaking Italian, right? And so that's the strategy I use. The human brain learns best by total immersion. So I was like, hell with it. I'm going to do 5 days. I'll do about 90 minutes a day. And I'm going to start with the energy. Because right now, like we're talking to people, so what I'm saying, they're going to go, oh, that guy's crazy. He's just passionate or talks fast, or I don't know what's wrong with that guy. Because most of us have been conditioned to talk like this, to be like this, and there's nothing wrong with this. But when you start talking that you can already feel in your own body, what happened to the energy in this room, right? This virtual room between us. Yeah. So learning how to increase and utilize your energy is the most important thing, because otherwise you have these great ideas. You go, oh, I'm gonna go get them. And then your body goes, oh, I can't get out of bed, right? It's like, so I like to start with giving people the tools that instantly change their energy. And then, because that's what I do in an event. And now in a higher state of energy and emotion and intensity, now we can shift your emotion. Now we can shift your mind. Now we can turn around those tasks you need to do in your relationship or your career or your business or your finances.
Oh, I love it. We know it works. We've absolutely been to a lot of your events and heard you speak a lot. And it's for sure every single time something big has shifted, it like massively has shifted and caused major momentum in our relationships or in our business, like huge things. So we swear by this. We can't wait for people to go and sign up.
Yeah, love it.
Well, I'd love to give you, I could give you 100 stories, but I want to give you one that's one of my favorites because I just saw this gentleman.
When I was very first starting Glossy, one of the most important things that we wanted to make sure we had was an incredible customer experience when they were on the website and when they were checking out. And I knew that it would be so incredibly important to make it seamless for them. And that is why we chose Shopify, because nobody does selling better than Shopify. It's home of the #1 checkout on the planet and the not so secret with ShopPay that boosts conversions up to 50%. And we all know if you don't have a great experience, you're going to bounce. And that is not a good thing for a business. And with ShopPay that boosts conversions up to 50%, that means way less carts are going abandoned and way more sales are going. Cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout I use. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/happy. That's all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/happy to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/happy. The hardest part about starting a business is often getting started. Build your business in just 10 clicks in 10 minutes. Starting your business should be simple. Get more when you start your business with Northwest Registered Agent. Your entire business identity in just 10 clicks and 10 minutes. Northwest Registered Agent has been helping businesses launch and grow for nearly 30 years. If you want to build your business while keeping your personal information secure, Northwest is the partner you need. In just 10 clicks and 10 minutes, they'll form your business, create a custom website, and set up your local presence wherever you need it. Form your business for just $39 plus state fees, backed by real business experts with decades of experience. Protect your identity and keep your home address private by using Northwest's address on your information documents. Don't wait. Protect your privacy, build your brand, and set up your business in just 10 clicks in 10 minutes. Visit northwestregisteredagent.com/earn and start building something amazing. Get more with Northwest Registered Agent at northwestregisteredagent.com/earn. So for the past few years, Chris and I have been in a really exciting, busy season of travel, whether it's for the podcast or speaking or meeting with our teams who are all over the country for both of our startups, with all the traveling that we do for work, for holidays, and also having had a lake house for 3 years that we only spent summers in. I often thought that it would be so awesome to have another family enjoy our home while we're away. We've made so many memories in Airbnbs over the years. We love to gather our family and friends together in a home away from home, whether it's for an annual Christmas ski trip that we do, or because we always want to travel back to our family for Easter every single year. And I love the idea of your home getting to be a space where other families get to make lasting memories while you get to make a little extra cash. Did you know Airbnb has a co-host network that can take care of all of the details for you? With the co-host network, you can hire a quality local co-host to take care of your home and guests. Experienced co-hosts can support you with everything from creating your listing to managing reservations, messaging guests, and more. Find a co-host at airbnb.com/host.
Last year, I did this. The first time we did this, by the way, we had 400,000 people join us, the biggest event I'd ever done. Last year, we had 850,000, 45,000 people join us. But one guy joined us for as an example. His name is Matt. I think it's in Tinsey is how you pronounce his name. He had been in a car accident, had brain damage. They put him in a bed. They put him on oxygen and told him he'd never be off oxygen again. And sure enough, he gained 700 pounds. And so this thing was free, he had nowhere to go. He's stuck in his bed. What the hell? I'll watch this thing. And on the very first day, he got so much energy going that he got someone to bring him these little little fake weights, and he started doing this in bed. And long story short, in 6 weeks, he got off the oxygen. He said he'd never get off. I think it was 2.5 months where he got out of the bed because he'd never even been to the bathroom in all these years, right? And made it to the bathroom. And then once you go to our challenge, you're part of our community, right? And so you get to meet people all over the world who support you. And he started sharing his progress. That's how I got to find out about it as well. I was reading some of the stories. And so I reached out to him and I said, listen, you got yourself out of bed for the first time. They told you couldn't be off oxygen. You are. I said, lose a couple 100 pounds. Let's see what you can really discover so you can really be mobile. And I said, listen, you get to this goal, and we've talked about his goals. I said, and I'll fly you to Palm Beach, Florida for my live UPW, and you walk on fire with me. Well, he lost 258 pounds so far. And he called me up and said, I'm coming to the seminar. I hit the goal. I was congratulating him. He said, but could I bring my girlfriend? Because he's now engaged to be married. Another girl is engaged to be married, right? Wow. All out of this little thing where he couldn't move because he went to the challenge. So I don't care what your damn problem is. It can be turned around.
I love that. I want to add to this real quick. We've been to both your paid events and then for your free events, and you bring it the same. One is not necessarily more valuable than the other. And I want, number one, commend you for that. But number two, you mentioned the community that happens at your events, both virtually and in person. And that community, friends and acquaintances that we've made at your events, has changed our life and are still lifelong friends.
I'm so thrilled to hear that. That's wonderful.
Talk to us a little bit about community and the role that plays in the Breakthrough 22.
I think, we're social creatures, whether you think you're social or not.
Right.
No man or woman is an island. Some people are socialites. I'm not talking about that. We need each other. Nobody's an island. Nobody gets it all done by themselves. All these people that talk about, I did it all, me, it's all bullshit, right? Most people did not sew their own clothes. They did not build the roads they're driving on or the internet that they're getting all their answers from. So I think it's really critical, though, that your community sees the opportunities in life, because most people's community does not. And it's not because they're mean or negative. It's frankly, they've been conditioned by the media continuously to live in fear or frustration or anger. We're reinforced to behave a certain way. So expanding your community to people all over the world that are driven to not settle for less than they can be or do and are coming from a supportive space. They're not trying to compete with you or get something from you. A community is a place you go to give. And we have some really cool, kind people in our community. They're attracted to it because it's the nature of somebody who really wants to grow. Because listen, when you have a great experience, whatever it is, what's the first thing you want to do? Share it with somebody you love, right? So when you're able to share it with lots of people you get to know and have. And also, I'm a big believer in chosen family. Like I love all my family members and my extended family, but I have a chosen family, people that I choose to spend the majority of my time with, who really are family for me. I love that we spend all time together. I think it's critically important to choose the environment you're going to live in, because you could be the greatest sprinter in the world. I stick you in mud, you're not going to be as fast. I create the right environment for you, you're going to maximize your capacity.
Love it.
100%. We love that.
You've got a new book coming out called Life Force, correct?
I do.
Okay. When is that thing dropping?
Oh,
Nice.
I just got my first copies.
Oh my
2
God.
days ago.
Does that ever get old? When you get
pretty
your first
happy about it.
copy, does that ever get old, even though you've done books in the past?
Well, I'll be sure to send you one, but February 8th is when it starts, but anyone can pre-order it now by going to Amazon or your bookstore, or you can go to TonyRobbins.com. But it's a 3-year project. I don't do little books, as you can probably tell. We use Bible paper, so it looks reasonably sized. But it's 674 pages.
Wow.
But here's why. In order to do what I do, I have to make this body do things most humans wouldn't do in their 20s or 30s. I mean, I'll give you an example. There's a group of people that work with like the Tom Brady's of the world, great Olympic athletes, people like that. And they followed me for 3 years, these last 3 years, before COVID and now during COVID, to see what was going on in my events with me physically initially. And then they wanted to see what the impact was on the audience. And the demands physically, to give you an idea, I burned 11,300 calories in one day on stage. Nobody believed it. I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
But event after event, it's like clockwork. And they explained to me that chess players burn 4,000 calories and they don't move. And so I usually burn about 3,500 before I get on the stage, just in my mental preparation. And then I go 12 to 14 hours a day. I jump 1,000 times a day. On average, 1,100 times. I weigh 282 pounds. So they explained to me every time I jump, I come down and it's 4 times your body weight. So it's 1,000 pounds times 1,000 jumps. It's 1,000,000 pounds of pressure in one day. When they look at my bone density, they go, these are humans. These are Olympic athletes. This is what we've never seen before. It's stronger than 99.999% of the people I've ever measured. I have 15 pounds more of lean body mass than an average offensive lineman in the NFL, to give you an idea. If you're running and you're with a friend and you're trying to talk, there's a level you can't talk. It's because your lactate gets to 4. Mine's at 18 and I'm still speaking. Now, I'm telling you this to give you context to train your body to do that at 61 years old. When a lot of 25-year-olds can't do it, I have had to become a biohacker. I've had to learn everything you can about maximizing, increasing your energy, but I've also had to learn about repair. Because about 4 or 5 years ago, roughly, I was being an idiot. I was chasing a 25-year-old professional snowboarder, regardless of their age. They're a pro and I'm not. And I had a horrific accident. I tore my rotator cuffs so severely, I was on a 0 to 10, 9 pain. And it was nerve pain, like you can't breathe, you can't sleep more than an hour. And so I went to all these doctors, everyone surgery, but there was no guarantee that I'd be able to lift my shoulder again. There was no guarantee that it would heal. Plus, if it all worked, it would take 4 to 6 months. And I was like, I can't go around with one arm 4 to 6 months on stage doing this stuff. So I was like, there's got to be a better answer. So I went to a friend of mine named Peter Diamandis, who's a pretty famous guy. He's an MD, he was a rocket scientist, good friend of mine. And I said, what about stem cells? What else is out there? He's a great technology guy. And so he introduced me to now my partner, and both these guys work with me on the book as well, Dr. Bob Harari, who's the guy who did those original studies years ago, 38 years ago, where they took old rats and gave them young rat blood and vice versa. And the old rats got young rats got old, kind of a vampire thing. But that's how real stem cells were really uncovered. And he said, Tony, stem cells in the United States are so weak. If you're using your own stem cells, they drop off the cliff at 40 years old, 35 years old. He goes, it's not going to work. He said, go to Panama. I'll tell you where to go and get 3-day-old stem cells that come from the cord that's normally thrown away. It's not fetal tissue. And so I went down there and massive pain. And day 1, didn't feel much. I did a drop and some injections. Day 2, I was really tired. I went to sleep. I woke up. Literally, we've had my MRI done. My shoulder is perfect. But more importantly, I've had spinal stenosis for 14 years, like massive back pain. I stood up with no back pain. I still don't have it in days.
Wow.
So I became obsessed with wanting to know everything about stem cells. And then it changed from just stem cells to everything in regenerative medicine. And we're at a unique place in human history where our body is nothing but code. And as you know, in the digital world, everything doubles in its power and drops in its price basically every 18 months. And so that's what's happening with editing even our DNA, as I'm sure you've heard. And so I learned so much in this area and met so many experts that I do what I do best. Like I wrote Money Master the Game by interviewing 50 of the smartest financial people in the world. Ray Dalio, Carl Icahn, Warren Buffett, and then figure out what do they do, even though they do things differently, what is it you can use to really become financially free? Well, I interviewed 168 Nobel laureates, scientists, top regenerative medicine people in this area. So I got invited by the Pope believe it or not, the Pope every 2 years puts on the most powerful regenerative conference on stem cells, everything you can imagine, new forms of cancer healing, et cetera. And I was asked to come be the cleanup speaker. I'm like, I'm no idiot. I'm not just going to be cleanup speaker. I'm coming for all 4 days. And I saw and heard things that you would think are going to happen 20 years in the future, like magic, that are happening right now or in the next 12 to 36 months. They're in FDA final trials. And so I was like, I want to bring this to the world. And so it started me on this journey. So I recruited Peter because he's an MD, and I recruited Bob because he's MD and also just a genius when it comes to understanding stem cells, and put this book together. And it's filled with the very best tools, like Jack Nicklaus. Many people know his name, one of the greatest golfers of all time. He couldn't stand for more than 10 minutes. Combination of stem cells and the pain portion that we did in this chapter, he now plays golf again without a problem. Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the greatest soccer players in the world, transformed himself without having to go through surgery. You've seen this happen again and again for athletes. So whether you want to increase your energy or you want to lose weight, or you want to be able to understand how to prevent cancer, heart disease, or know that what's the greatest alternatives that are available today, none of it's my ideas. It's from the greatest scientists in the world. That's what this book does. It's called Life Force because that's what life is, right? It's about how do I have more energy, vitality, and strength for the longest period of time humanly possible, and what are the tools to make that happen? And I really wrote it not only for you, but for the people you love. Because at my stage of life, I have so many people in my life I love and a large audience of friends and family that every week somebody's calling me because somebody got cancer, somebody's, parents got Alzheimer's, somebody had a stroke. And now I can go, boom, here are the best answers. Here's the best doctors. Go here and make this thing happen. As well as here's the things to prevent those challenges or the things to increase your energy. So I'm very excited about it. It's one of my favorite works I've done. It's called Life Force. Again, comes out February 8th, but you can pre-order it now.
I love it. Here's why I'm excited. When you pulled together 50 experts for Money Master the Game, that changed our financial life forever by being able to tap into such an affordable resource, right? So now as I approach 45 and, we want to start a family yet and all these things, I feel like I've got this critical window to understand how my body works and start doing the things right now that are going to matter 10, 20, 30 years down the road. So the timing of this is impeccable.
Exciting.
I'm excited about it.
And you're in your prime right now. If you look at life, one of the greatest breakthroughs that happened for humanity was pattern recognition. And it was the recognition of seasons. Because until we recognized seasons, we were wanderers, right? Out there, hunter-wanderers, going to place, hoping we could find food. When we understood the seasons, we knew if you plant in the spring, you're going to reap in the fall. But if you plant in the winter, I don't care how hard you work, you're screwed. It's not going to happen. That one insight changed us into communities, eventually cities, states, countries, right? Well, there's a season to your life, and you're referring to it. I hope people think about this. 0 to 19, 20, 21 is basically springtime. Everything grows easily. You don't have to work at it. You're constantly learning. Information's coming your way. Society, looks out for you. Now, some people have a very rough childhood. I understand that personally, and some people have an easy one. But overall, life is kind of giving to you. 19, 20, 21 to 41, That's when you go test all this stuff, which you guys have been doing, right? You start saying, this is what they taught me, but what do I really believe? What really works for me? What's really happens in a relationship now that I'm really in a really committed one? And you learn from 42 to 62 is your power years. That's, if you've really worked hard in the spring and the summer, that's when you're going to literally have the most impact, the greatest abundance, physically, mentally, socially, spiritually, community-wise, finance-wise. And then 63 to 83, and if you're lucky, 83 to 103 or beyond, is the extended portion of life for winter where you get to be the elder, you get to be the coach, you get to be the person that can hopefully make that difference. And as you get older, some of all that you've done for society and family and so forth, now they kind of look out for you. That's the cycle of life. So you got to look at that, but you also have to look at their seasons in history. So just for perspective, for the people who think it's so rough right now, imagine if you were born in 1910, okay? World War I just finished. People were really happy and euphoric to a great extent, at least in America. And there was all these new technologies, cars, the roaring 20s. So you're like in the middle of the roaring 20s, you're 16, 17 years old. You're looking forward to having a car and having these parties. And what happens when you turn 19 if you're born in 1910? It's 1929. The whole thing stops. People are jumping out of buildings, stock market crashes. We've got the Dust Bowl through the middle of the country. I mean, it looks horrific. And the people that came of age at that time dealt with very tough times that so made them strong. If they didn't quit, they got strong. But by the way, they didn't have a choice. Because what happened when they're 29? Right? Like you think now I'm going to get a break and World War II breaks out and none of us were alive then. But if you were, Hitler was crushing all of Europe. It looked like life as we knew it was going to end. And so those people who were seen as weak and flappers, like a lot of people talk about millennials today with such disgust and they're wallflowers, or what do they call them? All kinds of names they call them. The older generation, X generation calls them, or boomers call them, and they go, oh, boomers.
Yeah.
Now you got the Z generation, and you got millennials arguing up on the side, and it was old. It's just crazy shit. But these people, these constellation of generations, including my own and yours, are going to deal with winter. And winter starts with a financial winter, and sometimes there's a pandemic winter. But we haven't we're about halfway through winter. Meaning, instead of freaking out, it's a time to grow and expand and get stronger. But winter always has a war. It might be a cyber war, it might be a war with China, but there's zero question that we are heading towards an area like that, which is why I'm a student of history and study people like this to understand what has happened in the past so I can anticipate instead of react. How do I prepare for my family and my friends and my community and so forth? So it's important to know that you can be optimistic about the future, because even though we look kind of weak right now because we're sitting around huddled in the corner hiding from a virus, people are going to get sick of it. And then people are going to get stronger, and then they're going to face a bigger challenge. And what follows winter? Spring. I mean, if you were God or the universe, what a cool way to set things up. What follows the darkness of the night is the beauty of the day, the sunshine. So this is not a time to freak out. It's a time to get strong. But if you don't prepare yourself, and if you don't put yourself in an environment with people that think differently and have solutions, it's going to be a rough time.
Yep.
But if you get in that environment, it can be one of the best seasons of your life. Some people freeze to death in winter. Other people snowboard, ski, build a fire, be with their family, develop their skills for the next springtime that's coming soon.
Wow, man, I'm so inspired. And you know, I'm still stuck on is that we're going into our power years, babe.
I love
it. All right. Amazing.
Awesome. So grateful. Thank you so much. And literally just the energy that you bring. And I know that everybody listening probably is really feeling that. I have no idea how we're going to sleep. But that's where, when you prime people like that, that's where all of those good ideas come from. So thank you so much for just sharing and being such a huge part of our life and our journey.
Yeah, nothing but gratitude.
You guys are very kind. You guys are very kind. I appreciate it very much. Thanks for your inspiration. And I'm just glad people are watching you and feeding their mind, because that's the first step. Feed your mind instead of letting the environment feed you.
Amen.
So thanks for having me on, guys. Blessings to you both.
Amen. Our pleasure.
Thank you. Have a great day.